on some level, I commend Lamar Jackson. Because even though he's not really truly owning it, even though he's not really truly saying it, the whole Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens thing doesn't come down to Greg Roman, doesn't come around to surrounding talent, doesn't come down to feel for the organization or if they love him. It only comes down to one thing: money. That's it. And look, you are allowed, if that's your intention, if that's your desire, if that's what you want, you're absolutely allowed to. And remember, there is precedent in professional sports, especially in football, for getting more money than the guy before you. We told you this for over a year. I have said, hey, look, once that Deshaun Watson deal went, he wants more money than Deshaun Watson. That's the highest contract. That's what he wants. That's why none of the negotiations actually matter. It didn't matter. And people are like, well, the Ravens lowballed him. And they no. The Ravens were negotiating. He wasn't. Negotiating is, hey, I want Deshaun Watson money. You want to pay me X. Let's find a way to make this all work. And believe it or not, there is a way to make it sort of work and get close to what he wants. The problem is, again, without an agent, it's impossible because there's ways in which you can write it, ways in which bonuses can be attainable, ways in which, if he's healthy, it activates the next couple years in the contract. But he doesn't want that. He wants more money than Deshaun Watson. He said so on social media, which brought out some super weird advice on social media, right? Like Deion Sanders said, be you, essentially. In the pantheon of really cliche pieces of advice that you can give to somebody who's looking up to you, younger than you, wants to experience everything you experience, if your advice is, hey, man, be you. Well, first of all, most people in their 20s don't actually know who they are. Secondly, it doesn't actually matter who you are. It's how you're perceived. And again, what somebody's willing to pay you. Be you it's a lot like when you call a kid over and you go, right before he's about to pitch, hey, man, throw strikes. Or relax. Like, thanks. I understand. Like, you saying relax doesn't help me relax. It means you think I'm uptight and I'm going to be more uptight because of it. Or here's one. Have fun. Like, that's not exactly great insight with Deion Sanders. I really don't want to tackle this topic, so I'm just going to go, hey, man, be you. Do you. He has been, and it hasn't worked out well in terms of this negotiation. He's pushed for something, and he's gotten no response in the affirmative. Then you have Asante Samuel saying, hey, man, you don't want to play for Bill Belichick. None of that actually matters. None of you guys are getting it. None of these guys get it. It has nothing to do with who you're playing for or what. He doesn't care about the Ravens. He doesn't care about anything else. He has stated as such. I just want more money guaranteed than Deshaun Watson. There you go. Doesn't it? There was no, but I really want to make it work here, or I'd like to play, and he doesn't care about style, nothing else. He wants the money. That's it. Then you get Richard Sherman, he's doing the political thing, which we now do in sports, which is telling half the story. Take a listen on his podcast
What pissed me off
about
is
Lamar.
when Kirk Cousins got his fully guaranteed deal, I thought all the quarterbacks from then on were going to be like, hey, if it ain't guaranteed, I ain't taking it. Then Mahomes took that BS deal just 10 years and wanted to look like $500,000. Like, but if you get a half of that, fully guaranteed, everybody's happier. That sets precedent. But when he didn't set it, then Josh Allen didn't set it. Now Lamar's trying to set it after Deshaun's already said it. And they're like, nah.
Okay, so here's the thing. If we're, this is where we have to have real conversations. And Richard Sherman knows this, but he's leaving out some really curious facts. Here's one thing he's leaving out. Kirk Cousins was actually a free agent. Lamar Jackson is not. Kirk Cousins was franchise tagged twice and then became a free agent. So if Lamar did want a fully guaranteed contract, that mirrored that of Kirk Cousins, only was a lot more money. Then what would he do? Play 2 years on a franchise tag, then be a free agent. And oh yeah, by the way, even Kirk Cousins' fully guaranteed deal was fully guaranteed for 3 years, which they redid at the end of the last year, before the last year, and they extended him 2 more years. But it was fully guaranteed for 3 years. Hey, Jason Stewart, remind me of this one. I want to make sure I get my facts straight. Lamar Jackson told the world how many years and how much money it was guaranteed for on Twitter, I think going back to last week. How many years was it guaranteed for?
I think it was 3 years for 133.
Correct. Now, it was likely a 5-year deal where they retain his rights. You can kick some of the, and you end up still being on the roster year 4, maybe even year 5. None of that actually matters. But the point is that again, this is how disingenuous NFL players are, NFL agents are, and frankly, many people who carry the water for these disingenuous people who cover the NFL. Like, well, there's no guaranteed money. Yes, there is. We're willing to guarantee the first 3 years, which, oh yeah, by the way, you basically get paid up front. You know, all that signing bonus money, you get paid up front. It's got to be an escrow in 90 days, and then you got that money, and it's earning more money. And the art to it is having an agent that can build a contract where at some point in time, they're going to have to pick up that 4th and 5th year to be guaranteed, or find a way to get you out of it and then get a new deal somewhere else. But you don't say that NFL players don't have guaranteed money. They do. Lots of it. They just don't have it for the full length of the contract. Some of that's because of how the salary cap works. Some of it's so the club can protect themselves, so that if you keep achieving what they expect you to achieve, then they can pick up those options, and then you can stay on the team, and they don't have to go through free agency again. No one said, hey, we're not going to give you guaranteed money. We're just not going to give you guaranteed money for 5 years. And for the Ravens, they're going to sit there and go like, well, why should we relinquish your rights after 3 years? We don't have to do anything right now. We have your rights for this year, and if we want, we can have your rights next year. And the truth is, you can have it for the 3rd year, although it jumps up in what's called a transition tag. So I grow really frustrated over anyone saying anything about anything with Lamar Jackson other than it has nothing to do with weapons, doesn't have to do with offense. He obviously doesn't care about it being the Baltimore Ravens and their level of success. None of that matters, and it doesn't have to matter. It doesn't have to matter. Okay? For him, it's about one thing. I want more money than what Deshaun Watson got guaranteed. That's it. That's the only thing he cares about. And the rest of the league is sat there and go like, well, we don't like that contract. And the Ravens don't have to give you up. They don't even have to negotiate with you if they want to. They can do whatever they want to do. And we don't want to pay that money. Like, so if you ask yourself, this is my least favorite segment in sports radio or segment in TV is, would you trade so-and-so or would you trade for so-and-so? Would you trade Kevin Durant? Well, no. I don't want to trade Kevin Durant. What if I gave you 5 first-round picks, non-protected? Well, okay, then I would trade. You could have Kevin Durant, right? Would you trade, Pat Mahomes? No, I'm never trading Pat Mahomes. Okay, what if I gave you every first-round pick we had for the next 10 years, and then we gave you our quarterback who's good, and then we get, again, it's all got to have context. So when teams aren't interested in Lamar Jackson, per all this Twitter stuff, what they're telling you is, I don't want to pay $235 million guaranteed for 5 years for Lamar Jackson and 2 first-round picks. No, thank you. No one asked them, well, what would happen if it was $150 million guaranteed? The reason that you don't have to answer that is Lamar has stated very clearly this is what he wants, and he doesn't want anything else to do with anything else. And the only thing he's doing is he's negotiating against himself because no one's willing to get to that mark. The Ravens negotiated in good faith. Lamar didn't have any bad faith. He just said, this is what I want. And they've been going back and forth probably a year on it. And, even before the Deshaun thing, And then when the Deshaun thing happened, they were like, we're staying away. You know, I haven't heard anybody who's like this pro-Lamar thing going, Aaron Rodgers signed afterwards. That's not a fully guaranteed contract. Kyler Murray signed a long contract extension. That's not a fully guaranteed. Nobody's been honest with you. None of the contracts that were signed this offseason are fully guaranteed deals. If he wants a Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year guaranteed deal, not 5. And that was after 2 years of playing on the franchise tag, which, by the way, the franchise tag is only a 1-year deal, but it's fully guaranteed. I pride myself on educating you with the actual truth. I'm not pro-owner or pro-player. I'm this is the real deal. And if you ask me honestly, would I pay 5 years guaranteed for Lamar Jackson? The answer is no. And it's not because I thought Sam Darnold was going to be better than Lamar Jackson coming out of college. I did. I thought Sam Darnold was going to be better. And he is not. It's because, again, you have the recent injury history. He missed 17 games the past 2 years. He actually was a wildly inaccurate thrower this past year, the most inaccurate starting quarterback in the NFL. He hasn't achieved nearly, we're talking about, you want to talk about dated data? He didn't win the MVP last year, the year before, several years ago. He's still a dynamic weapon, but the likelihood is he's going to have to be more of a thrower and less of a runner, and the more he throws, the worse he plays. That's the reality to it. And then, I don't want to give anybody a 5-year guaranteed contract in the NFL. Hell no. The least of which, a guy who's a running quarterback who's already been hurt twice and is inaccurate. And by the way, clearly has no true connection to Baltimore, to the team, to think about, maybe this is in the best interest of the team. So, no thanks. And it's not personal. It's just business. I wouldn't do it. And this is me saying that, knowing that he's the most dynamic runner who's played quarterback in the history of the sport. And though it's not easy, I do think you can win more in the playoffs with him. The problem is, when he lost in the playoffs, he had one of the best defenses in football. And if he gets his way and gets the biggest guaranteed amount possible for a long period of time, at some point, you're going to have to lose parts of your defense. And if you can't win when you have the number 1 defense in football, what leads you to believe you'll be able to win when you got the number 10 defense in football just because you paid your quarterback? These are common sense issues.